So all supporting materials for tonight's hearing have been provided to the commissioners and are available on the town's website, and the public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. My name is Michael Garland. I'm chairman of the Conservation Commission, and before we start, let me confirm members are present. Michelle Koros.
Here.
Patrick Cunningham.
Here.
Megan Langley.
Here.
Christopher Carey.
Here.
And town officials who are participating, Caleb Moody.
Here.
And Jesse Averka.
Here.
All right, very good. And also, please note that the meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. So, and if anyone is participating remotely tonight, if you come on, please state your name and your address as if you were attending here in person. So the first item on tonight's agenda is a 7 p.m. public hearing, Nordic Industrial Properties LLC, for Fuller's Collision Center, and notice of intent for property at 12-14 Sword Street. Is there a motion to open?
I'll move to open.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's a vote. All right. Mr. Mendez, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So after our last meeting, we actually returned to Sword Street to take a further look. We were particularly interested in the alternatives analysis that you provided to us, given the fact that you need a waiver from our board to perform the work that has been proposed. And in all honesty, I'm not sure that the alternatives analysis, and I'm speaking solely for myself, but I'm not certain that the alternatives analysis you provided to us really exhausted possible alternatives for what you have placed on the plan. So if you would please, I'd like you to address that in more detail if you could please.
Sure. I guess the lowest points of the property are the wetland area and the intermittent stream. Much of the parking area is probably at about elevation 495, more or less. Everything else, that's the lowest point of the parking area.
Right.
Everything else toward the street is a couple feet higher. The proposed bioretention area has a bottom elevation of about 491. And I guess in the need in having to discharge the water for that area, I guess the only really route that I've been able to discern is the existing wetland area or intermittent stream.
So before you discharge into the stream, and based on our observation, that may be a perennial stream. We're not certain, but it could be. What sort of treatment are you providing before that water gets discharged into the stream?
In that particular case, the treatment, it's being a bioretention, so it's a sand filtration through the bottom layer. And then, but also, I want to say that's part of it, but also more part of it. There is also an outlet structure that would discharge the excess water. So primarily it's through the outlet structure directly to the culverts and then finally to the riprap apron.
All right, now the bioretention area that you're discussing, that's located at the southerly part of the parcel, right?
Yes, that would
But
be.
there are 2 other outfalls, correct?
Yes, sir.
So how is water that is going to be channeled through those outfalls being treated?
The first one would be from the catch basin up to where they're proposing 5 parking spaces. That would be through, the runoff is proposed to go to a deep sump catch basin, which should capture some of the sediments and stuff. And then finally directed toward the riprap apron before finally going into, I guess, the buffer area, or I mean into the wetland area. The second one would be capturing runoff from the roof of the proposed building, but in that case, the runoff goes from the roof into the underground infiltration system, which is pre-manufactured chambers, and then once from there, it's it would go through culverts into another riprap apron area and finally into the intermittent stream.
And what kind of maintenance schedule would there be?
For all of them,
Structures, yes.
and for the case of the catch basin, it's primarily about every 6 months where it's supposed to be inspected. Same thing for the subsurface infiltration area. As for the bioretention area, that one is a bit more active in a sense where some of the growth has to be monitored, and so it's more so on a quarterly basis.
Okay. All right, I have no other questions. If anyone else on the board has a question, please feel free to ask.
So there's a culvert already there. Do you know where the water, is that draining from one of the buildings that's already there, that's in, and is that monitored at this point?
My understanding at this point is a roof drain.
Is that monitored at this point?
Not to my knowledge.
Are you doing anything with that, or is something gonna be happening with that one? Are you gonna because that looks like it's just running off, like is that filtered at all before it goes into the stream?
I don't know what happened at this point, but we haven't proposed to make any adjustments to that one.
I think that maybe that one should be looked at too. If it's running right, should we look at that?
Can you,
'Cause
sorry, could you point out some of these things on the map?
On the plan. Sure.
Like the culvert she's talking about and the
Okay.
other structures that were just talking.
Sure, no problem. Please?
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't interrupt you,
That's okay.
Michelle. I just wanted to
That's
see
okay,
where.
no worries.
All right. Okay. On sheet C104, the proposed culverts would be like the highlighted areas in orange.
Okay.
This one would be originating from the catch basin for this area up here. This one is for the subsurface infiltration system. And this one would be for the bioretention area. As for the existing pipe that drains, it would be from an existing roof drain pipe that's from this area over here and goes over here.
Well, is there some way to take that pipe and just tie it into the
Yeah. that's
to the
what I was
pipe
wondering.
at the bioretention area? It seems to me if we want there to be treatment and it's not currently being treated,
Mhm.
this is a perfect opportunity to accomplish that, right?
Yeah, I agree. Alright.
So what would it take for you to revise your plan to include that?
Off the top, I don't know what the pipe and stuff like that. So there might be some limitations in terms of getting the proper slope. Hopefully, but if it ends up not being feasible, then I guess I'm stuck where it is because I can't get the pipe to run out to this area with the correct slope, given the distance. That could
But
be
at this
the-
point, we don't know.
Yes, I don't know. I can't tell you.
All right, so my suggestion would be if could be investigated, because I think it's a valid concern of ours.
Okay.
And how long do you think it would take you to do that analysis?
Probably at least a week, and even then, I'm trying to think in terms of the deadlines. Because let's
Okay.
say
Well,
if it came back for 2 weeks,
our next meeting is going to be on April 12th. So would you be more comfortable if we reschedule this to our meeting on April 26th?
can I be greedy and try for 12? That's 3 weeks, more or less.
That's right. If you think you can meet the deadline, then fine.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
We just need his material by the 5th so we can get it on the packet, so.
Yeah.
Right.
2 weeks.
So 2 weeks.
That seems feasible.
All right, so do we have your permission to continue the public hearing to April 12th at 7 PM?
Yes, indeed.
All right, and may I have a motion, please?
Move 1214 Sword Street to April 5th at 7?
April 12th.
I mean, April 12th at 7.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those-
Sorry,
Yeah.
could you just point out to me which way the slope just generally is on that?
On the property?
It's sloping down this way.
Yeah, so the
towards
property
me.
in the sense, it goes all the way towards
Okay.
in that area. So I guess everything just drains to that point and to the back. But then there's everything in a sense also drains towards the side. This being like 490 in a sense, and this being everything like 495, 500 up here. But in a sense, it goes that way, some of it that way primarily.
Okay. So I just, in your, if, looking at this possibility of, just so I understand, is used, the runoff that's now going through the existing culvert, diverting that to the bioretention pond. So then what about the existing culvert?
Well, it's not,
Structure.
apparently there's no treatment taking place.
I guess I just mean like in terms of like restoration of that area, if that culvert becomes obsolete,
Mhm.
like, you know, that would be an area that could potentially be restored. I mean, I don't know, I guess that's just my question, is that, because there was, in this alternatives analysis, you know, it says there are currently no disturbed areas that could be disturbed, that could be restored to mitigate the impact. So I'm just curious, even if that's a small area, if that is an area.
It's a good point.
I see what you mean.
I don't know.
It's a good point.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
I don't know. I'll check.
Okay.
All right, terrific. So there was a motion and there was a second to continue the hearing to April 12th at 7. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Close the vote. All right, thank you, Mr. Mendez.
Thank
Sorry
you,
to
Matt.
come back, but it is what it is.
Indeed. All right, thank you.
The next item on our agenda is 705 public hearing, Levaque Geomatics, Inc., notice of intent for property at 23 Brook Street. Is there a motion to open? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well, how are you?
Living the dream.
Members of the commission went out to the property. We had actually gotten a complaint from the abutter to the owner of 23 Brook Street and had an opportunity to survey the back of the property.
Sure.
So the erosion control measures that are there have to be reestablished,
That's correct.
among other
I,
things.
I think I noted that in the plan.
Okay,
It should be because it's falling down and it's really in disarray.
exactly. So it does need to be reestablished. And I think there was some comment about distances not being noted on the plan that you had prepared.
Correct, and I think there was some talk about doing an as-built and including those distances on the as-built and the work was completed.
Well, let me ask you this,
Sure.
how difficult would it be for you to put those distances on the current plan?
It wouldn't be difficult, but I know that the homeowner is very anxious to try to get their work going and does not want to have to delay for another couple weeks. You know, this honestly is an as-built, and despite the fact that there's no distances, I mean, the plan has a scale, you know, it's based on the current existing conditions, based on our survey. You know, I guess what I'm kind of thinking is with all the information that we have on there between the wetlands lines, the buffers, you know, I think it's pretty clear how much is, you know, how much work is being conducted within the buffer zone and what's not in the buffer zone. So, you know, putting a distance on right now, I guess I'm kind of questioning, like, how is that going to really adjust the determination?
Well, this is a 20 scale, right? Is it?
Maybe I can't read it, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think that sounds about right.
So, I mean, would it be that difficult to just use a ruler and figure out what the distances are? Since, you know, you
Well,
prepared.
I'm saying if we needed one now, we could scale it if that was a question.
Well, I know that that was a concern that was raised at the last meeting.
Yep. And I'm not arguing that. I just thought that we kind of agreed that, hey, when we do the ASBIL, can you include them then?
Okay.
So I guess that's what I'm asking, because I don't think that's an unreasonable request.
Mhm.
I'm just not understanding why we should delay it because,
Well, what we could do is we could make and again, I'm only speaking for myself because
Sure.
we haven't voted on this. We could make approval of the project conditioned on you submitting the revised plan,
okay.
you know, which
That-
shouldn't take you that long, right?
No, wouldn't it?
Okay.
So if that'd be agreeable, I'd be agreeable to that.
All right. Okay. Any questions?
No, but I do have comments.
Please.
I have a problem with this just because the homeowner herself was completely clear on the fact that she needed to actually come before this board and actually show this plan before doing any work. When I went there and talked to her, all of that stone was actually sitting in her driveway. When I went out there last weekend, there was a wall built. And had that have happened, the homeowner that was adjacent probably wouldn't be having the flooding that she was having. We spent probably a half hour walking around her yard, being told why she was having a problem. And the reason that we do this is so that we don't have to do that on a Saturday morning. So I guess that is the bigger issue that I'm having. If we had a negative determination on this, if this was actually to scale so we could see it and actually approve it without them having to take a wall down that is already mostly constructed, and at this point, we don't reestablish that silt fence that's now running into the stream, then we have a problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're in
but they were
between a
told
rock
not
and a
to-
hard place.
Right, I get it, but in their defense, they were told not to do work. So I'd assume that you shouldn't even mess
But
with the
they
silt
already
fence.
did. Yeah,
No, I understand, but, and again, I wasn't intimately involved with this from the absolute beginning. I kind of got brought in a little bit after you guys
Right.
kind of, I guess
Yeah.
you went out there and said, what, don't do anything else, and then they moved stone and started building stuff.
Right.
Then a official letter was given, is that about right?
right.
So
So,
what,
but I think since then, and I'm not trying to say, like, when you guys said stop, they should have stopped. I mean,
Right.
so whatever you think you need to do as a board, I'm not gonna defend that,
Right.
right? But they did stop, once they got the official, I guess, formal, I mean, nothing has happened since Christmas time, basically. So, I don't think they were totally agree, you know, maybe I'm missing my words here, but, you know, they're just, at this point, I mean, we've submitted everything, we're trying to just do it the right way now, make sure, totally agree, silt fence needs to be totally reconstructed, before anything happens. And then, you know, I think it's more than agreeable to do an as-built, just to make sure everything ends up the way we proposed it to be. And I'd be more than happy to put additional dimensions, and as we just discussed, I'll do it on this plan if
Okay.
that's, you know, I'm not opposed to that. That's, you know, it's not worth arguing about.
Right.
okay.
If we could get that silt fence though reestablished as soon as possible so it doesn't impact the neighbors. you know,
Okay,
like,
so is that something that can happen before we
Yeah,
get our
that,
order
like,
of
that
conditions?
should happen, yeah,
Okay.
yes.
And then just, haven't actually walked over, I mean, was there erosion or any sign of
Yeah, like there's
of stuff
erosion
in the
that
neighbor's
Yes,
yard?
yes.
There was some. I think, you know, there was
Some
some
of it
some
isn't,
runoff.
but,
I think it's
yeah.
I mean, because that whole area slopes down towards that whole neighborhood.
Yes, it
Right.
does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it, you know, and unless you walk back there, when you walk back, it is rather wet, you know, in that one spot. And it's like, obviously,
Right,
you know, I don't know. I'm sure it contributed somewhat, but I don't think so far what's been doing just drastically changed the, you know, runoff from that entire hillside going
So-
down.
We actually issued an enforcement order for this
Right.
property, so I think to maybe ensure compliance, we'll keep the enforcement order in place.
Mhm.
And then, you know, we can close a public hearing on the notice of intent, and we'll basically keep our eye on the property.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's not fair.
Any,
I have just a question because I wasn't here. This was gone over at the last meeting too, right?
yes.
Okay. What was the issue with the scale on this plan, or?
there's,
I thought there was, somebody said there was some.
I think some of the members had mentioned, ma'am, that they would like to see some additional dimensions Just so, you know, you can, is it 10 feet, 15 feet, whatever the case may be.
I see, okay.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? There being none, is there a motion to close?
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, it's a vote. All right, Mr. Levesque, thanks for coming in, and with any luck, we will act on this evening.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The next on our agenda is a 7:10 public hearing, Mark and Megan McCrillis, request for determination of applicability for property at 1277 Road. Is there a motion open? Is there a second? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed to vote. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. Mr. Garland and board.
So we took a visit of your property a few weeks ago and had a chance to walk the property. So, and I understand the nature of your request. You feel that given the site conditions that a notice of intent is not necessary. So, what do members of the board think?
I have no questions.
You have no questions?
No.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. I mean, again, you made a presentation the last time. We had an opportunity to look at the site, which is what we really needed to do. I have no questions, so
We appreciate it.
I don't think you even need to elaborate, Glenn.
I know, I want to talk,
I know you love
but I know I shouldn't talk. We want to move it along. The people are waiting back there. I think I have 2 more projects in front of you, so thank you
Could I
again.
maybe just,
Yes.
since I'm sorry I wasn't able to come to the meeting,
Uh-huh.
Okay.
just get your all's impressions?
Can I then explain it to them?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Megan, I believe. Thank you, Ms. Langley. So it's we had originally delineated the wetlands for the subdivision. We have the plan in the car and over there, whatever it be, 15 years ago or so. There was an isolated wetland directly up gradient of this point. We're 85 or so feet away from the limit of the isolated vegetated wetland. So again, the pool area, 40 by 16, the pool itself is a one-piece fiberglass, comes in on a flatbed. It's in the backyard, mostly in the lawn area. There are no wetlands down gradient within 100, 200, 300 feet. So we're down gradient of wetlands. You do protect the isolated vegetated wetlands under the bylaw. But we, again, had explained that we're down gradient, so it's hard for that sediment, if there was any, to come uphill. We are protecting the areas behind us in down gradient with erosion controls. They are silt fence entrenched by S&M Farms will use, which is one of the best people putting in erosion controls, because they do have a ditch witch structure that digs down 5 to 6 inches embedded. And so we'll protect any other areas. No excess material is described in the request for determination. Excess material will be coming off-site. The pool has a bedding under it and the sides, and no trees coming down. And that's the project. And we're requesting, we went through this RDA, because we did have an informal meeting initially with the board, just asking, and I know can't give direct opinion on where we might go, RDA or NOI, but because, again, we felt that nothing could get into the wetland, that we went forward and we're hoping for a negative determination.
So everything is within which buffer? Like
It's it.
closest buffer?
Well, you have
Yeah.
okay, here's the buffers, if you can see it. The green, it's 85 feet away with the pool, 85 somewhat feet away.
Okay.
We're not in the 25 or the 50 if you're looking at that bylaw buffer.
Okay, it's just the gray box. part.
That's correct, ma'am, with a fence around it. And we're down gradient of the wetland again.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions?
Thank you.
Any questions from the audience? There being none, is there a motion to close?
I move to close.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. All right, thank you very much.
much.
Hopefully, we will act on this
I'm sorry not to introduce Ms. McWillis. I apologize.
No worries. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, we'll talk. Thank you.
Thank
Have a good night.
You too.
you.
All right, and
Might be next.
I think you are next. So the next
Thank
matter on
Yeah, you're
our
on.
agenda is a 7:15 public hearing, JBG Investments LLC, and no cemetery property at 5 Sunrise Avenue. Is there a motion to open? So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed to vote. All right. Good evening again. So, you have your plan. It is on the screen. So Glenn, why don't you go ahead and make your.
Thank you, Jen. We did get a formal enforcement order. There had been clearing. This lot was in a degraded state. How long was it abandoned? If I, through the chairman, could I ask my client, how long was the lot abandoned about?
There was people living there, but it looked abandoned for many, many years.
It was overgrown?
Yeah.
So actually, I looked at it on Google Maps, and so at one point there was a garage that apparently was torn down. And I know that the lot behind it was, it looked like it was heavily, maybe not wooded, but there was a lot of brush there.
Yeah, it's like a knotweed.
It's a Japanese knotweed. It hadn't been maintained, so this was a, if I could continue.
Please.
The lot had been filled. If we go to the back, or the slope on the back, you'll see it's steep. This had been a filled lot over years of fill, just going back, whoever owned it or previous owners before these, we don't know who did it, but it's very old fill. It didn't get into the wetland. We see the wetland line I delineated. The commission can look at it. It's obviously, if the commission hasn't yet.
We went out there,
Oh, good, you did.
and we have, yes.
Oh,
We've been there
thank
a
you.
couple
I
times.
wasn't sure.
No worries.
So, we, there's a shed showing on the plan. There was a garage. There's gonna be an abandoned well. There's gonna be an official new well. The Board of Health has approved the septic or haven't,
They haven't approved it yet.
but it is submitted to
It is
them.
submitted, yes.
It is submitted. The septic system is over 100 feet from the wetland boundary, so they're 1002. It would be if it was within 100 feet. The presumption is that the septic system is protected resource area if the Board of Health approves it. But again, being over 100 feet away, it is just outside your jurisdiction on that point. The whole area needs to be stabilized. It had this knotweed brush, hadn't been mowed or maintained over the years. We have picked up all the trash in the wetland. About, confirm this, please.
3 truckloads.
3 truckloads of old lawnmowers, the push type, the plastic. I saw steel, other type of product that had gone in over the years and dumped along there was specifically quite a bit on the southern side, in on the northern side, and other debris along the eastern side of that slope. So I did ask the clients to pick that up. They had put in an erosion control. It wasn't embedded, so we called in S&M Farms. They put in that embedded sill fence. I think if we look at it, it's not the type where you can pull on and pull it up from the bottom like the stuff that flies in the wind that we see sometimes that homeowners might put in, or contractors that don't put it in correctly. So I appreciate that the clients at least listen to their consultant and have paid for this to be put in correctly, so that you could see that as we're working to stabilize this lot, to rake it out, to seed it, that nothing, if it rains again, a heavy rain, which it does rain here and there, like the 15th, I believe, of 3/15, we're not going to have any erosion into the resource area. We're not going to destabilize any of the slope. Again, abandon the well, put the new septic in. You see it on the design.
So the only change to the lot is the installation of the new septic system in the field, is that right?
That is correct.
And so I know when we were there, it looked like there was some renovation work occurring in the house itself.
Inside the house.
Yep.
But you're not going to expand the house at all?
No
Okay.
expansion.
All right. And you're not adding a garage or anything like that?
No.
All right. Yeah, because I see that there was a perk test done back in September. Do you, so that was 6 months ago?
Yep.
Do you need to redo it?
So I don't know. They haven't told me that they need it.
I talked to Jay excuse me,
Sure.
I did talk to DC, and there was a need for one more test hole, which
So
was
they needed-
done.
So that was getting done this week. They needed us to get a licensed site professional to go in and do some testing. So that's being done right now. So
Alright.
he was doing that.
Let me clear that up. LSPs are for hazardous waste. This was a soil evaluator, I believe.
Okay.
You needed a licensed soil evaluator approved by DEP to do the perk and deep. So there's going to be one more test hole. That's what's holding up the approval.
Correct.
Miss Coyle required that additional test. They'll perform it, maybe because I'm only seeing 2 test pits right adjacent to each other, and because the field is so long, and not being a Title V expert, but seeing this stuff since '86, she probably wanted to make sure that the full length of the field, that we knew the percolation of the full length of the field. And just generally, they're not sitting on top of each other like I'm seeing here. That could have been the issue, but they are requiring, again, one more deep hole and TP, percolation test. So once that's done, again, this is over 100 feet from the resource area, but once it's done, it's our pleasure, even though, again, it's over 100 feet from the resource area, we would submit the approved Board of Health just for your file.
Yeah, that would be helpful. Okay. I have no other questions. Does anyone else have any questions? Anyone? Patrick? Any questions?
When do you think you'd be able to go about seeding, stabilizing the entire
Thank you.
lot? I know it's steep in that one area, but it is sloped towards the back
Yes.
of the lot.
Thank you. I'll go through.
Please.
My clients, when we receive the order of conditions, if and when they do issue it, how quickly, obviously, it's drying out now, it's gonna be dry for a while. If it's raining during the spring rainy season, we'll avoid that type of thing. But what's your methodology for leveling this so that it's suitable for, is all of it gonna be lawn? I would ask that, because it could be just a wet meadow, a meadow seed mix or conservation seed mix for some of it, and some of it will be lawn around the house, I take it. So when do you plan on getting the yard area stabilized?
As soon as I can actually get over there and,
Oh, so within the next,
Yeah.
within the next month or two?
oh, yeah.
Okay, and again, we'll monitor, if you put in the order to keep monitoring that erosion control, especially, we might know that most erosion controls aren't gonna be functional at all because the water's gonna bypass. It's gonna be whatever low points that water during a rain event is gonna hit. There could be a couple at this low point, there could be 3, but those are the areas that we would look at and make sure that there's no undermining or no pressure that's gonna push and go underneath that erosion control and then discharge. So if we have in the order that it be monitored until the site is stabilized, obviously that'd be our pleasure to do what the order says to do.
Very good. Okay. Anything else? Okay. And since there's no one in the audience, I guess there's no one in the audience that will ask questions. In that case, is there a motion to close?
I move to close the meeting.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed? It's a vote. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you again.
You.
We'll see you on the telephone poles for 54 Prospect when that comes up. Thank you.
So, for other business, we had, we were actually pretty efficient on 2 Saturdays ago. We went to Washington Street. So, that aspect of the project, the commercial project at 50 Washington Street, the entire lot has been cleared. Erosion control measures were installed or appeared to be in good condition. And so the question was whether or not the applicant had an obligation to notify us before they did all that clearing. I looked at the order of conditions because I thought there was some discussion about that, but there was no specific condition that I could find indicating that they had an obligation to notify us. So, I mean, in all honesty, if if it was a situation where there were no erosion control measures in place, or it appeared the work had been done improperly, I think there might have been an issue. And perhaps going forward, when we have a big project like this, and we may have some big projects like this going forward, it's something to certainly consider putting in an order, but based on what I saw in the order that we issued, there was no requirement that they notify us. So. The other business we have is actually 54 Prospect Street, so what we could do, since Mr. Kravosky's not here, is to maybe tackle some of the meeting minutes. I know it's one of my favorite things to do. And so actually, if you look at the meeting minutes for January 12th of 2022, there were enough of us at that meeting to actually act on these minutes. So if you would just, I don't know if you had a chance to review them, if you would just take a minute to look them over.
I have a correction.
That's excellent.
My last name is spelled incorrectly.
Okay.
It's Nordborg, not ERG.
It's spelled right. Oh, it's spelled right on your.
Spelled right there.
Well, that's good.
It's spelled right in the list of board members.
All right. Well, see, right there, that makes it worth reviewing them.
Mine's spelled incorrectly in the board members, by the way. I brought it up, but
And I'm looking
it's
at
L-E-N-G-L-E-Y.
the other ones, and I believe it's misspelled.
Well, we will make sure that gets correct.
Emma?
Duly noted.
Okay, what's that?
Megan, where's yours?
Oh, just, it's not in the minutes. On the agenda,
On the side?
yeah, it's L-E-N-G-L-E-Y instead of E-L-Y.
Oh, yeah, it's transposed.
I see it.
Okay,
Yeah, we'll definitely take care of that.
that's why we do it.
Okay.
Look at my name.
Where was I? January 12th of 22.
You were here. No,
Apparently I was here.
it says you were here.
I made a motion. Megan seconded.
So, if you ever need an alibi, Patrick, right?
Oh, yeah. It's okay.
Okay. Having reviewed these minutes and relying on my memory, is there a motion to accept the meeting minutes of January 12th, 2022 as amended?
Make a motion to accept them as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Okay, Allison's no longer here, and Chris was not on the board at that time, so the motion carries. And Mr. Kravosky, good timing.
Oh, we're back, thank you.
So, the other matter we have is a project change to 54 Prospect Street.
Yes, it's, if I could, please. We normally call this, if the commission accepts these words, insignificant project change. You know, we do have telephone poles, we don't always know where they're going. The National Grid had chosen these locations, and this is where they should be. So and then they wanted a letter from the commission saying, oh yeah, that's okay. Well, we don't just automatically get that from you. And so they put one across the street, if you're looking at the plan. If they would be blue and red. Hopefully you have a color. And so you have across the street, a blue dot, and then some arrows pointing to these different dots. And if I open my page, it's probably going to say telephone pole. Proposed poles. And that's it. And let's see, we give distances. The wetland is down gradient. We did receive the order on 5/22 in that month. They are under construction. We did plant the restoration areas, both the wetland and the buffer zone. And we want to, what they're looking for is just to get the pole in on our property. The other one's right along the street, across the street. And again, we are up gradient. So you see a 25-foot buffer, and then we are directly on the 50-foot buffer with the telephone pole on the up gradient side of the driveway.
I need better glasses because mine's really little.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Open it one more, then
Okay.
you'll see it. It should be in color though, they're blue little dots. We did say in our description that any dirt coming out of the holes, we will take away. So we're not just gonna bore it and leave it there. We do, normally when there's any excess of any dirt, any time, we're not gonna leave it there because that just becomes a question by the board that it's gonna erode. So for the little bit of dirt that we have, we would remove it. And then, so it's just gonna be a pole in the ground. And generally, well, I'll let the board decide what they want me to do on
Well,
that.
I suppose what we would do is we would add this or incorporate this plan by reference into the notice of the order of conditions.
You know, and then on an as-built, we'll show those poles.
All right.
And we'll show the house, we'll show the driveway, we'll show everything that you want to show. We'll describe the restoration of the wetland and the growth as we normally do.
All right.
2 years of growth on these will normally required. We did plant it last year, so, but it was late in the year, if I recall, so we'll look at 2 years before we would ask for a certificate, make sure everything's green, lawn, plants growing. To the newer members, this was, my people, they're new people to me. They went in there and they cleared it. There had been a wetland line in the past just bordering this, but once it was cleared and chipped, and then the commission questioned whether or not the original wetland line was correct, which the other houses directly downgrading were built to, at least the one right next to us, and then the other one had a wetland. So this is the headwater wetland system. It just begins and comes out of the ground here. It's non-hydric directly upgraded. These are little black dots, I won't go much more, but they're test pits. So when we looked at the soils all through here, because we didn't have plants to go by. So as soon as the soils ran from hydric or 4-3s with redox and evidence of saturation to 4-4s, 10YR, most of the time, 10 yellow, red, 4-4. Then we get these non-hydric soils. And actually on this plan, it gives a planting scheme also, how many plants. And that's it. So we replanted the wetland, we replanted the buffer zone, and we put a driveway in. And lastly, again, where just these poles came up as a surprise. Well, not a surprise, you need poles. Sometimes they go underground, under the driveway, and we wouldn't have seen the pole, I guess, except for across the street. But that one pole on the property, underground from there.
So have they been installed yet?
No,
Okay.
no, they're waiting for any type of, even a letter that's saying potentially, if there's such a thing, if there's a vote, it would be just an insignificant project change, or with that, we're okay with them. Or if I have to take the minutes from this meeting to say that the commission said we'll just incorporate the poll locations in the as-built when we go for the certificate.
Well, if we were to, I mean, I think sending a letter is probably the easiest way to address this. The question is, where would we send it?
National Grid for Zeller, I can send you along I just met with him yesterday over another National Grid issue.
Okay.
But we'll send you the specific, I believe we referenced her, but I will get her specific location to your agent here, your clerk. And if then it can be done, then we'll
Yeah.
just send it to her. I might be CC'd on it so that I can see it, so that I have it in my file.
I
So
think it'd be a pretty simple letter.
yes, we're okay with the polls
Right.
shown on this plan,
Exactly.
maybe.
All right.
I appreciate your time on that.
I mean, we will take a vote, but, I mean, that seems like a reasonable course of action.
I appreciate it, sir.
All right.
Ma'am, and everyone.
All right. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you again. Have a good Wednesday evening.
You too.
Take care.
Thank you again. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, so let's do this first. Is there a motion authorizing me to send a letter to National Grid approving the pole location shown on this plan? It's a work request, it's got a number on it. The date is February 14, 2023.
So moved. Do I need to repeat all that?
No, there was none. Please don't, please don't.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you,
Yes.
thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. All right. You said that with such feeling. All right.
I was like, I'll make that motion, but then I was like, I can't repeat
Yeah.
that.
with respect to the matters that we closed this evening, shall we issue orders? And who wants to do it?
I mean,
I figured. That's why you're the perfect person to do it.
you know, I don't have the people. Look at, he's got the paper out already.
All right, Pat.
Here you go, Patrick.
What do you need?
All right. Business.
Really, guys, it's not that hard. Kind of isn't.
I have to read them better.
Okay. So anyway, is there a motion? Patrick?
Well, I'll make a motion to make a negative request for determination of applicability to 12 Sunnyside Road.
All right, we'll take that one first. So, all right, there's a motion for a negative determination for 12 Sunnyside Road. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's a vote. Okay. With respect to 23 Brook Street, is there a motion?
So the idea is to keep current enforcement order in place.
We can issue an order of conditions while
Yep.
maintaining the enforcement order. In fact, that's the leverage we need to make sure they do the work properly.
Okay.
Because if they don't, then we can fine them.
Yeah, because they don't obviously listen. Because
Sure.
like,
Right.
it's like,
Through the chair, I did tell him to call Jesse once the erosion controls are corrected, so he could go make sure they were corrected.
Okay. And, you know, what we can also do, and even based on our observations, I think we can send a letter to the property owner saying that based on our inspection, the erosion control measures need to be reestablished. Because it's, you know, and I think that's a requirement, frankly, under the enforcement order. So I think we can sort of work in parallel tracks here.
I would like to do that because we sent them a letter like right after we went there
I'm
saying
aware.
you need to actually get some erosion control measure there now. They told us that they didn't live near any wetlands. We explained to them that they did. That,
And then they built
yeah.
a wall.
Then that they couldn't do any work. They built the wall. They had to come see us. They did it anyways. And I think that that's why she doesn't actually come here anymore, and she sends somebody else in her place and for her. I mean, they just don't. I think that they're like, okay, we'll just keep ignoring that whole situation, and it'll just go away at some point.
Well, okay. So, all right. So let's address that issue just for a moment. You're obviously concerned about lack of compliance, as I am, and I think we all are. So, I think what we do is that we tell them, we give them a deadline to reestablish the erosion control measures.
Okay.
And it doesn't have to be, today is the 22nd. They have to do it by April 1st. And if they don't do it, they're subject to fines.
Okay,
All right?
I'm in.
Okay, so that's a separate issue from the order of conditions for the notice of intent.
Okay,
So what's it,
go ahead.
what I was gonna say is is there a motion to send a letter to the homeowner telling them that they must reestablish erosion control measures by April 1st or risk the possibility of financial penalties?
I make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed to vote. Okay. Now, for the notice of intent for 23 Brook Street. Is someone willing to issue or to make a motion to issue an order of conditions for the property?
Before I, continue, I just want to make it known that I very much disapprove the fact that they put in that wall and brought in fill, and then their plan included it as existing structures to us, while also saying that they weren't doing any work
I know.
and that wetlands don't exist. So to put forth a plan approving something, putting forth a plan that on their own,
Okay.
maps.
And then we told him that we
Existing
wanted a scale, and he's like, how about we just do it?
Right.
We told him that last week.
Yeah, we
What did
did.
he think that he needed to bring in here this week?
All right, so let's,
I'm just having a hard time with the whole
Right. I
thing.
don't want to continue it. I mean, I
I don't want to continue it either.
don't want to continue it to the next
Because it-
meeting, but
well, let me ask you this. I mean, actually, we could, because we have 21 days to issue a decision, and the 21st day just happens to be on April 12th. I actually figured it out. I think I'm right. Oh, Caleb's doing the calculations now. It's 21 days, right? From after tomorrow, or including tomorrow? Starting from tomorrow? It
I
might be
just feel as though they've
20
done everything without
it
any
might be 22.
repercussion. They've just done everything that they've wanted to do and then just backtrack
Say
saying,
again?
It's calendar days, I think it's business, you have 21 business days, right?
wow, no bias.
I always thought it was calendar
Either
days.
way, I think you're okay,
All right, so,
provided it doesn't snow on the tour.
yeah, I understand.
Hypothetically, if I put forth a motion and it were to be denied by the board, the enforcement order stays in place,
The enforcement order is gonna stay in place anyway.
right? But then it just sits in limbo and we watch the property and make sure that it's
deteriorate. Well,
Okay.
yeah. Or we watch the.
So, and sort of as sort of an extension of what you just said, if, if the will of the board was to deny the notice of intent, I mean, we told them they had to file a notice of intent. So
Right.
they've done that. Because the notice of intent is the best, and an order of conditions is the best way to get them to comply.
right.
The next step would be finding them, you know? We've
Right.
done it. You'll recall that we've done that. It's not an easy process, but we've done it.
Right.
I mean, my preference would be that, and taking everything that you've said into account, and you're absolutely right. I think by saying the letter, advising them the enforcement order is gonna stay in effect and that they have to reestablish the erosion control measures by April 1st, or else they're gonna be fined or face the risk of fines, and we go out there, we can enforce that part of it.
Actually, do that. And that we'll go make sure that it's established, and then we'll vote on this on our next meeting on the 12th.
All right, I have no problem with that. Is that agreeable?
If we've got that much time. if
Well,
we've
what
got-
it is
got
is that, I mean, to your point, if they don't do it, then,
That's, all of the erosion control measures have to be reestablished by the 1st of April. We'll go and inspect it.
okay.
And that after we've inspected that it has been, then work can continue. Until then, no work can continue.
Then that's your motion, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Just so you understand what we're doing here?
Yes.
Okay,
And
good.
that we'll vote on it, after that we've
I understand.
established that.
All right, there's a motion, there's a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, it's a vote. And by agreement, we don't even have to, we have to do this by motion. But by agreement, we will postpone a decision on the notice of intent until our April 12th meeting, correct? Is there any disagreement with that? All right, perfect.
Through the chair, just to verify, we're not gonna show that as a hearing because the hearing was closed. You're just gonna act on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Which is what, exactly, because we have the time to do that. So, all right.
We're just gonna put it as on the other business, right? Okay, so I
Mhm.
remember.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
And then finally, for 5 Sunrise Avenue, is there a motion?
Make a motion to issue a standard order of conditions notice of intent at 5 Sunrise Avenue, including the special conditions of 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, 11.
Okay, so the motion is standard order plus the following special conditions 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 9, and 11. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's a vote. Okay. Okay.
Well, that's already been accepted, but we wanted to include the monitor for an extended period of time for runoff patterns that included undermining the current erosion controls. but we
Exactly.
Didn't set a time for that.
All right, so is there a motion to amend the order conditions to include that monitoring provision?
I'd like to amend
My terrible motion.
his
It wasn't
motion. No, I'd like to amend the motion to include those provisions.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I second.
Was there a time frame provided?
You mean in terms of until the sloped areas are stabilized, or until they're going to see the entire area? Of course, when we went out there, it was covered with 4 or 5 inches of snow, or maybe more.
Right.
So until the area there near the stream is stabilized. Okay, so there's a motion. There's a second, I believe.
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Okay. So I think we can do another set of meeting minutes for January 26th. Because I was there, Patrick was there, Megan, and so was Catherine. And to Catherine's point, yes, her name will be spelled correctly. So that needs to be amended.
Everybody loves throwing E's in my last name for some reason.
That's sort of the accepted spelling,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Nordborg, Swedish. Okay. As opposed to German? Maybe?
I think so.
Aside from the name change, I have no corrections. Does anyone else have a correction?
Make a motion to accept them as amended.
Okay. Is there a second?
A second.
You can't. You weren't present.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't here.
I will say.
I will abstain.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Okay. And then we can also do the meeting minutes for February 23rd. Assuming I can
I
find it.
was here.
Can't do February 9th?
No, because I was in here for that
Because
one.
February 9th, Allison's no longer on the board and Tom's not here, so we need majority.
And I was in here.
And you probably, jetting off somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, we know.
There's,
Okay.
there's 4 of us here, aren't there? Oh, members absent, sorry.
Which one are we looking at? Sorry.
The 23rd.
Would be February 23rd. Here we go. Okay, and there.
Can I glance at the back? Yeah.
It's just the one meeting I missed, 2 meetings I've missed in 3 years.
Wow,
I know.
you're really good.
Yeah, we won't talk about your
Saturdays.
recreation.
They talk about mine, it's not good. Okay, I make most of those. At least I do.
That's most of them.
I would stop.
Yeah.
I would stop right now. Just saying. All right, I reviewed them. I have no changes aside from the fact that we really need to spell Catherine's name right.
Yeah.
I can't believe this was a year ago.
So is there a motion?
Motion to accept as amended.
A second.
Okay, is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You can't because you weren't here.
Wait, who was in here?
Said abstain.
Yeah, he said.
Oh, I wasn't here?
No.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Wait a second. Hold on. Wait a second. So for the 23rd, it shows me, Michelle, and Catherine. On the minutes, it shows me, oh, and
No, it
Catherine
doesn't.
it shows Catherine participating remotely. So
remotely.
the three of us can vote on this,
Yeah.
right? So you, Michelle, and Catherine, and me. So all those in favor?
Don't we need 4 for a majority?
What's that?
Because
Don't we need
there's 7,
four
I think we need
majority?
4.
You're right. So we have to wait.
I
till-
just don't think-
You're right. We have to wait for Tom to come back. So we will table that until our next meeting. Thank you, Caleb.
Okay.
9th, we're not gonna get the 4, but
All right, that's right. All right. Is there any new business? There being none, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Hi.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. No one ever opposes them. All right. It's a vote. Thank you, everyone.